We look at this So it doesn't necessarily go in that order though, because the first thing you need to really know is you. You need to truly understand who you are, what makes you tick, why you're so incredibly cool, because you are, and what are you passionate about, and how does that passion propel you to your purpose. See, a lot of times we stay up in that top level. We stay in that level of passion. We really truly believe in a political issue. We are really into our kids' sports team. We really like a particular, football or, because it's March, basketball team. And we stay in that fan zone, if you will. That's kind of what passion is. Now, it can be, and it often is, being a fan of yourself, and I absolutely believe in that. I've said so many times, you should be the first person to like and comment on every post that you ever do. Hey, Gracie, glad to have you here with me. Or Graciola. Graciola, I suppose is probably how that's pronounced. Glad to have you here with us. Visibility is on purpose. So the first piece is absolutely knowing who you are and then being able to clearly articulate what that is. But then, and here's the piece that most of the gurus kind of skip over. They talk about it, but they talk about it in overwhelming ways. You know, um, great to meet you too. Gary Vaynerchuk talks about doing 60 or even the last time I heard him doing 100 social media posts a day. And I know a lot of people that have systems and even, custom GPTs and things like that that will help you create a post or hundreds and hundreds of posts. But more content isn't more, okay? More is just more. Just the same as with your book. You know, Statistically, we actually know that a book of 100 pages or less is more likely to be read and completed than a book of 200 or 300 pages. And yet, the publishing industry convinced us, that a book needs to be 350 pages. I even remember being on a call. This is a few years ago. I remember being on a call with a person who told me straight up, if your book isn't 150 pages, it's not a real book. And I was like, what makes it unreal? You know, does that mean that when we go back to many of the books that were written, say, for example, during the Revolutionary War, that they're not real because they weren't long enough? Does that mean that, you know, the book jumped out of my head, as I was saying? Um, anyway, the book, The Four Agreements, which is about 140 pages. Um, there are so many books that are 100-ish pages long. that are huge. I mean, I'm talking like selling tens of millions. Sugar, glad to see you. It's not about more words. It's about consistency in a clear message with one and only intent, and that's the intent to connect. Okay, so it's not about. Um, I saw a person, and I've actually worked on their book, so I know them a little bit. Saw a person who was posting today, and they did a ton of posts, and they were all about look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. If you want to have all of these things that I've got, then you need to do this thing. And there are ways that that works, and I mean, he does live in a beautiful house in Dubai, and all of those kind of trappings in the world. But that may or may not be what connects you with your people. And for a brand new person, they don't care how much you know, they don't care how great your life is until they know how much you care. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. You can be a multi gazillionaire. Okay. Why do so many people? I mean, there was a huge thing not that long ago where people were completely hating on Elon Musk. Okay. Why? Well, I mean, of all the things that Elon Musk has done, I don't know that he's really ever done anything that makes us really be like, oh, Elon Musk, he's such a really great guy. I mean, you could say the same thing about Donald Trump. All the things, whether you totally agree with him or totally disagree with him, as far as that really know, like, and trust factor. And really, I would say, and it wouldn't matter which side of the aisle you go on, I would say that that's pretty true of just about all politicians these days. They want to push a button. They want to poke at a thing. No, my name's Steve Kidd because I was actually born that way. I do have 6 children of my own, but no, I was actually born Steve Kidd. Totally cool stage name, but it's actually my real name. Thanks for asking, though, Doxy, or Droxy, I guess it is. Um, we have to begin to start connecting with people. Part of the disconnect when you start talking about whatever element of society, and again, like you said, it doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on, part of the disconnect comes from we're trying to yell our opinions at people rather than connect with one another. It's in that connection, it's in that coming together, it's in the capability of being able to talk about, especially talk about the things that we disagree on. You know, I'm not saying change, but I'm saying be willing to listen to someone else's. Okay, so now what is all of this have to do with when I got this book and I read it's because number one, you need to know who your people are. You need to know who you are. And then how do you use that clearly who that you are to be able to message to the people? That's the start of it. And then number two, you've got to understand where people are going to go. Okay, so books are my specialty. And I can tell you over 90% of all books that are sold these days are sold off of Amazon. People buy books from Amazon. That's really kind of the place to buy a book right now. Between Amazon and Goodreads, which they own, Audible, which again they own, those kind of things, that is the primary place we're going to go and buy a book. Or, if we buy it at a local bookstore or we buy it at Barnes and Noble or those kind of things, we have a tendency to look up the reviews on Amazon, which brings me completely to The thing you can absolutely do, and I'm glad to help you with too, and that does have to do with reviews. What are other people saying about your book? How are you intentionally creating trust and then having those people reiterate that they trust you so that other people will as well? I used the example yesterday of, of a restaurant and the whole concept of, when when you're in a city you've never been to, or you're looking for something new to eat, you look at the reviews and, you want to know what the people are saying about it. You want to know how current those reviews are. I mean, it brings questions up when you had great reviews and then nobody's reviewed your book for the last 2 years. It brings up questions when you don't have these processes in place consistently. Okay, now again, consistency isn't about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds a day. In fact, you would be better off having one real human being buy your book every single day and have 10, 20, a small number, even 5 real human beings write a review this month about your book and do the same next month, so that you currently have, even if you had one review a month. So if you had one sale a month would be a little low to keep you ranking. One sale a day, and you can absolutely stay at least in the top 100 in most cases, if your SEO is set up right. I mean, there's some qualifications in that, but you can absolutely do that. And even having just one person every single month. Now, if you look in your category and you look at the other books in your category, and you've got, say, for example, a children's book, which tend to be the ones that have just the mind-blowingly most number of reviews, one review a month versus a book in your category that has 12 or 15 or 20,000 reviews. It's going to take you a while at one a month, and you may want to look at some other higher spends for those kind of things. But either way, that is a signal. And that's what we're talking about, is you need intentional signals in the space where those people already are. We've kind of created, and that's one of the downsides to social media, to the whole posting concept that many of the gurus are talking about. You see, it works really well for them because they have tens of hundreds of millions of followers. And so then those people are commenting on content because of works and because of AI. You then need to have a whole team of people. Gary Vaynerchuk has like 40 or 50 or 100 people that are helping him do posts every day. So doing 100 posts, they can have him talk like I'm going to do today for, 15 or 20 minutes. And that 15 or 20 minutes, they can pull, thousands of posts out. Especially if he's being interviewed and being just specifically asked questions and answering those questions. Tons of little memes and those kind of things. Absolutely. Totally. That is, totally powerful. But that's when you've got a great big team. When you're all by yourself and you're running your company and you're answering the emails and you're doing all the things, adding on top of that you need to do 60 or 100, it's just not real. But to be able to do a thing is, okay, and the importance is that you need to be where they are. Okay, so, and I'm gonna stay working in book space. So, marketing in book space, you need to have that book, and you need to have that consistent, ongoing signals. People slowly buying your book, people reviewing your book, and leaving good, solid reviews on your book. That's important because Amazon's where they're going to look at books, to look for the new information. We've got to show up where they are. Now, if you want to go with social media, okay, then you need to be in groups that are your people. You need to know who your people are. Remember, I said that earlier. And then you got to show up in those groups, and then you got to add value in those groups. All too often, people want to jump over the being a contributing member of society, really, but especially their niche group, and go right straight to pitching. Think about how it feels for you when you get that thing. I had and I know it's a spam bot because the person has a couple 100,000 followers on their Instagram, and this Facebook Messenger person, had like 30 followers or something like that. I'm like, okay, you're not really that real person, but it did that typical thing. Came in, hey, how you doing? Would you be interested? It went straight into a pitch. No relationship, no, hey, how you doing? No, what can I do to help you? I wrote my whole entire book, and I probably at some point am going to run the same marketing campaign that I've been running on, bestseller is only the beginning, on my book. How can I help you today? Because that focus on what can I do for you, those are the kind of things that you really need to invest in. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. You got to show up where they are, not expect them to come and find you. So let's do that. Are you ready to be seen? Are you ready to be seen where they are? If you are, comment the word seen. I want to help you. I want to help you do that. We're going to hop on a free phone call. I'm going to talk to you about some of the signal things you can do with what you're already doing. And then, yes, I'm going to, at the end of that, offer you an opportunity to really be able to magnify what you're doing to explode it out into the market. We've got some cool things we can do for you, and I look forward to that. I'm here for you. I want to help you. I hope that you're happy, you're safe, that you're enjoying the brilliantly beautiful sunshine that seems to be popped out all over the place right now. And then until we're together again next time, you have a great week.